Hey everybody, it's Saturday, October 19th, 2013. You're listening to Film Fetish Podcast, your home for fetishistic film fuckery. I'm your host, Connor Boyd. I'm joined today with Aaron Dye.
Hello.
Fucking George Monard.
Hey, how you doing?
And Jarrod White.
Total.
I just blanked on your name really weirdly for just a second there.
Poor George.
So, this week we watched a movie called Suspiria, but we're not going to talk about that yet. We're going to talk about other films we've seen this week. To start it off, we have Jarrod White talking about the films he's seen this week.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, how's it going? Coming out to all you crazy, wacky people stuck on the freeway this morning.
I saw a wonderful movie the other day called Gloria. It came out in 1980, runtime of 121 minutes, directed by John Cassavetes.
Damn.
John Cassavetes, if you're not familiar with him, he's probably most well known as an actor. He is Mia Farrow's husband in Rosemary's Baby. But his crowning achievements are his work as a writer and director. Some of his best films, A Woman Under the Influence, Opening Night, Shadows, Faces, one of the pioneers of independent American cinema. But Gloria is one of his later films, another one starring his wife, Gina Rowlands, and it's about a former mobster's girlfriend who tries to help a child whose family has just been killed by the mob. And she's trying to keep the kids safe from the mob, and it's the people the crowd she was once in with that's trying to get the kid.
I see.
So it's more a conventional movie from John Cassavetes, but very well done. Excellent music from Bill Conti, I believe. And
I believe he did
Rocky.
He did Rocky.
Gonna fly now.
Yes. Is it a 70s film or?
1980.
Oh, okay. Very
So,
cool.
but it definitely has that late 70s New York movie type of vibe, like a Scorsese, Abel Ferrara kind of thing. A little classier than Abel Ferrara, but definitely in that vibe. So I enjoyed that one highly. I would recommend it.
Very cool.
I also saw, about a week back, I saw Escape from Tomorrow, which I'm going to refrain from talking about.
That's fine.
There's a lot of buzz about it, a lot of people talking to it. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but all I'm going to say is that I highly, highly enjoyed it.
Okay.
And I would recommend going to see it.
Very cool. And so those are the movies you've seen this week?
Pretty much, yeah.
Cool. All right, our guest, George Monard. George, what have you seen this week?
Well, recently, the Criterion Collection, if you're familiar with it, had a 24-hour flash sale where they were selling all their DVDs and Blu-rays on 50% off. And I decided to go for it. I picked up 3 films, one of which I've seen already, which was Brian De Palma's film Blowout, starring John Travolta and Nancy Allen. And the 2 new films I haven't seen before were Hal Ashby's Harold and Maude, and The Sweet Smell of Success, directed by Alexander Mackendrick, and starring Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis. I think I'm going to speak more on Sweet Smell of Success because I know Jared's a big fan of it, Connor's a big fan of it.
Yes.
I think that would really facilitate an interesting discussion about the film. My opinion on the film, I thought it was really one of... I mean, first time, like, the cinematography of New York. I'm from New York, and I love seeing New York in the 50s just shot nightlife, and to see it, all the glitz and glamour is just so fantastic. Amazing cinematography. I thought it had a great jazz score to it. It was very cool.
Yeah,
it had a very...
It's a cool fucking movie.
It's just a very suave and kind of sexy too, actually. It's in some ways.
Got some sexiness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the highlight of the film by far is its screenplay and its script. It is out of this world. It is like if Aaron Sorkin was writing films in like the 50s. It's really well written, really clever. Amazing one-liners. What's the line?
You're a cookie full of arsenic.
No, my favorite one is the one... What does he say? What does Tony Curtis say the guy when he's entering the club?
It's like, if you're funny, I'm a pretzel. Drop dead.
Yes.
It's so great.
Great.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Burt Lancaster's performance is so fantastic. You can just know that he's kind of he's kind of got it all in his head, and he's just kind of
Just spitting truth.
yeah, and he knows what he is though.
Yeah.
I think he's very self-aware as a character. He just kind of he knows that he's kind of this kind of scum journalist, but he's just kind of
It's kind of
okay
like the
with
most
that.
revered of the scumbags
Yeah,
in a way.
and he's the most honest character about himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In some ways,
Because
too.
the Tony Curtis character is a scumbag, but he tries to toe the line,
Yeah,
and
he
it gets him in
yeah.
trouble.
He tries to act like he's a noble person, and he's just simply
Yeah.
not.
So do you want to say what that movie's about, by the way?
I don't think I can do it justice. Would rather you guys give a description of it. I mean, I just saw it recently.
I think it's just basically about Tony Curtis plays a publicist.
Yeah.
For these people in New York, and he tries to get them into this column, this very glorified column that's written by J.J. Hunsaker, the character Burt Lancaster plays.
Yeah.
And it's basically him trying to get the scoop on all these things and kind of weasel his way into gaining his client's trust, even though he lies to basically all of them. But it's full of
Yeah.
the movie's just full of. It's like one of those. It's like All About Eve, where it's just the whole movie is just dialogue.
Yeah.
Not like in a bad way. It's just
No.
like it's so good that it's just so talky.
Yeah, it's just. I think it's a film that. I mean, I don't know if I can fully articulate it in the best that I could. After just watching it for the first time, I feel like after multiple viewings, I'll be able to really just kind of like. I feel like I'm gonna see new things each time I watch it, and just kind of pick up on little character
Nuances.
traits. I feel like the nuances of the characters, and I think it's just kind of a great film to study.
Yeah.
As a student of cinema, and just really look at it and see, like how do you go about writing a film like this?
Yeah.
I thought it was phenomenal. All right, moving on.
Yeah. Aaron died.
I would just like
Oh,
to say,
yeah.
for anyone who really likes Sweet Smell of Success, I would highly recommend a similar film that came out, I believe, 5 years earlier, Billy Wilder's Ace in the Hole, starring Kirk Douglas, which is, by my record, one of the finest American films ever made.
Wow.
It's got a similar seedy kind of character and focuses on the media in a similar type of way. Very sharp writing, very well done, great cinematography. I would recommend it. If you like Sweet Smell of Success, you're going to like that one
I'll have
too.
to watch that one next week. Aaron die.
Yeah, so I haven't seen any of these fancy classic movies this week. I haven't really seen a ton of movies lately. I guess the last good movie I've seen recently was Bellflower for like the 6th time. I watched that a couple weeks ago.
I've never seen that movie. What is it?
It's a indie that went to Sundance a couple years ago. It's mostly known for being made for $17,000, and the director was like sleeping on people's couches for a couple of years,
Wow.
like putting all of his money into this project. And it got picked up at Sundance's next selection bracket. And the director's name is Evan Glodell, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. A couple weeks ago, I watched it out in the living room for like the 6th time because it's really powerful.
Is it on Netflix or Hulu?
It is on Play Instant, so yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I would highly recommend it because like there's like the story behind how it's made is really inspirational, and then it's just a really well done film for how little money it took.
And what's like the plot? What's the synopsis basically?
The first half is like mumblecore meet cute romance where it follows these two like buddies like they're building this flamethrower and they're like preparing for doomsday and stuff. But it's like all like for
Oh,
for
you've
fun.
mentioned this before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's like the only movie I can think of right now that I've seen recently. And then like the main character meets the girl and they fall in love and they go on a road trip. And then you get to the second half of the movie where she cheats on him, and then it gets really weird and really dark
Wow.
and really twisted. And the ending is just phenomenal. The ending, like, it keeps dragging it out, but it just keeps getting so much better and better until like the final credits roll. And it's just, I highly recommend Bellflower.
I haven't seen it, but from what you're saying with the two halves and getting dark in the second half, I'm getting a very Takashi Miike's audition vibe.
I haven't seen Audition yet, but yeah, it's that idea.
But yeah, Audition is the first half is like a bizarro romantic comedy, and then the
Yeah.
second half is like what the fuckery to the
Yeah.
max.
It's it's one of those movies that's disturbing just because it's so weird. I mean, it has some disturbing things in it.
It has
but
some
it's
disturbing things, but it also it's with a wink and a nod. It's
Yeah.
got a very dark sense of humor.
Yeah, for sure. So Bellflower and
Bellflower.
And Suspiria, I guess.
Suspiria, and I watched Escape from Tomorrow too, but I've had so much debate going. There's been so much debate. I can't take it anymore.
That's fine. Absolutely.
Friendships were broken.
Yeah. Alliances questioned.
Yes.
But I mean, I appreciated that movie. And basically, what I took away from it is that surrealism might not be my thing.
Sure.
Fair enough.
A polarizing type of filmmaking.
It is polarizing film.
Yeah. It was interesting though. I mean, I would recommend to go see it and see if like you're into that kind of genre.
Cool.
Yeah.
Neat.
Take it.
All right, yeah. So, what I have written down for this week that I saw, I recently watched Vertigo for the first time,
Ooh.
the Alfred Hitchcock
Vertigo.
1968 film.
You mean the greatest film of all time?
Oh yes, according
Sight and
to
Sound,
Sound.
BFIs.
according to Sight and
Yeah.
Sound, the greatest film of all time, better than Citizen
Better
Kane.
than Citizen Kane, apparently.
Things I liked
I
about
disagree, but that's
it.
beside
No,
the
I
point.
absolutely disagree. But
Yeah.
the things I really liked about it were there were some really great shots, as any Hitchcock film's gonna have. The shots of San Francisco are like fucking murals.
Yeah.
The dolly zoom, obviously. The Vertigo shot. I mean, you can just call it that.
Yeah.
There's a wide shot when she, spoiler alert, falls off the, or someone jumps off a tower.
No!
And he's leaving as the church people are coming up. There's
Maybe
this wide
Kodak?
shot where
Plays the
is
first
it she though?
Just like
He's leaving.
Nim Kovac.
He's leaving as they're coming up, and it's like this really weird geometric wide shot, and you're kind of like, huh, how did they do that? And then also the nightmares he has. He has all these fucking
Yeah.
nightmares that are really cool. There's a spinning kiss. There's really cool use of shadows and mirrors, and the music's also really awesome. And Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak are just really good in it.
Yeah.
I love Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, me too.
He's fantastic.
The only thing I didn't like about the film was that it was kind of slow.
What are you talking about?
It
You're saying my friend Harvey.
It climaxes just
Large rat.
a bit too early. Like the climax, the seemingly peak of the film is a little too early, and the third act can just really slow down.
A lot of Hitchcock films actually have that problem. For anyone who's seen Psycho,
Psycho does
has
it
a
in
similar
like a
problem.
really awesome way.
I like the end of Psycho, but there's that thing at the end of Psycho where they sit down and explain what happened for 15 minutes. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but the film
In the police.
They sit the one harm a fly, like that's a great moment, but
Yeah, but before
they,
that, when
they
they're just talking
explain
about
everything that happened,
Harvey,
which
yeah.
it's not like a game changer, but it's like a little bit of a letdown when everything building up to it was so fantastic. I noticed some Hitchcock films kind of peter out at the end a little. I think he wanted to let you down a little, but he puts that last zinger in there at Hitchcock.
I think what
in Psycho with the last shot. I think he wanted to lull you into a false sense of security and then say, "Yep, still got you."
Right.
But I think it does peter out a bit.
I think that in terms of Vertigo, I mean, I haven't seen Vertigo from beginning to end in a long time. So it's coming from memory and from the little bit I watched a few this afternoon, Connor. I can definitely see that Hitchcock. What I think he was going for was definitely, what you said before, is kind of almost like a hypnotic feeling. It was kind of almost like a dream-like atmosphere, and the atmosphere totally comes through the cinematography and the score, and just kind of the way the camera moves and everything. That said, I do think the Hitchcock films I always prefer were ones that were more more traditional thrillers. I think was just doing what he did best, which was just creating amazing suspense. Films like Rear Window, and North by Northwest are just, I think maybe I have more nostalgia for in some way because I watched them at like a young age.
Sure.
And so maybe I prefer those more for that reason. I also really think his film of 39 Steps I like a lot.
It's a pretty good one.
I actually rented that. I still gotta watch it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot. It's from his earlier period before he came to Hollywood, so that one's interesting to watch. I've never seen Shadow of a Doubt, and I think I really want to get on to watching that one.
I really like that one. There's a lot of great like lighting and stuff and scenes like that. And then Joseph Cobb.
Cotton. Joseph Cotton.
Joseph Cotton. I'm thinking of Lee J. Cobb. That's a different person.
Still a great actor.
Yeah.
You're getting your grapes
But-
mixed up.
Yeah. He's good in that movie. The thing with Vertigo was that there's so much build up, and then the payoff is like it doesn't explain anything. It's just like, oh, that happened, but there's no reason for it to happen. So like the third act is just like trying to figure out why that happened or what's happening.
Yeah.
It's just really strange. It's like this epilogue. It's like it feels like an epilogue. It feels like the movie's over and they're continuing. And there's parts in that movie where like George, you remember me going like, wait, you don't cut to black on that? Like before the end where they kiss, they ended the kiss and it kind of fades out. I'm like, oh, credits. And then no, there's still like 10 more minutes. So there's like a lot of endings to that movie.
Right.
But I do think it's definitely worth a watch.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, since now the #1 film on Sight and Sound, I think it's like people who had opinions on that were kind of like, it's kind of like what a Hitchcock also works. I don't know how I feel about it. I think when that Sight and Sound poll came out, everyone was kind of like, maybe I should look at Vertigo again and see if I was missing something.
Right.
I think it's totally, if you haven't seen it in a while, it's worth revisiting.
Yeah.
Actually, if anyone's seen, I was thinking one of my, I kind of like, actually one of my favorite Hitchcocks might be, not my favorite, but one in there would probably be actually Strangers on a Train. I really enjoy.
I really like that one too. There's so much to offer there.
It has some really good dialogue. I think it has good suspense, but I think it has a great sense of humor. I think it's one of his funniest movies.
Yeah.
Just the finale is just absolutely ludicrous. It's just
it's crazy.
It's fantastic. I don't want to spoil it, even though it's an older film. But if you haven't seen Strangers on a Train, definitely check that out.
So the other film I watched today was Le Havre.
Le Havre.
Le Havre. It's Lehavre. Really?
I love that movie.
Yes.
Well, I don't.
Love that movie too.
It's a 2011 film by.
I was thinking of Lahane for some reason.
Oh, you're thinking of
Lahane's fucking
Lahane.
rad. Yeah, that's a different movie.
This is Aki Kaurismäki's.
Yes, this is a film directed by director Aki Kaurismäki. So what it's basically about. Oh, by the way, Vertigo is essentially about a guy who's hired to.
Everyone knows. Not everyone knows.
I
Vertigo.
figured
Vertigo.
Okay.
People have a general idea of it, I think.
So this movie.
Our producer's nodding. He wants a plot summary.
And a plot synopsis. He basically there's an old man who's very poor, works as he's a shoe shiner.
This is Le Havre, by the way.
This is not Vertigo.
This is not Vertigo. Yeah, thank you, George.
And then he falls off the tower.
Yeah.
He's trying to fix shoes.
Basically, the film's about a shoe-shining old man who finds this refugee from I don't really know where, but
I don't think it specifies.
Speaks French.
But
whatever.
I only saw a quarter of the film because I had to go somewhere.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know, but
I was enjoying it quite a bit.
And he basically takes him in as one of his own. His wife goes to the hospital. Hilarity ensues. Not really hilarity, but
no.
Not really hilarious at all. But it's it's a really heartfelt film. It's directed like it's like some kind of French New Wave film. It's very simple. There's a lot of still shots. It doesn't move the camera unless it really needs to be. It's very spare.
I would say that the film is a cinematic picture book.
Yeah,
it's like a fairy tale picture book brought to life.
It could be honestly told with still shots and with pictures. Sorry, pictures and just like subtitles.
I wouldn't go as far to say as it's a new wave. It's pretty traditional, I think, when it comes to.
Did I say it was new wave?
You said it had a new wave. You said new wave in there, and I was like,
oh, okay.
French
I
new
don't.
Wave.
I wanted to say old French directors, so I just said new wave.
Yeah, it had a very
but no,
traditional way of directing. I think,
right.
I mean, I didn't see the whole film, but I thought the cinematography was really the color palettes.
Yeah, it's a really colorful
nice
film.
Texture to them.
It's a fairy tale type story set in our normal world.
Right.
It's like a fantasy story with no fantasy, and it's shot like a children's picture book, and it's really beautiful.
It is, and there's some really good scenes. There's a scene where Little Bob and Mimi meet for the first time, and they have this kind of like Drive-esque moment where all the lights go out, and there's just one spotlight on the two of them, and like this music swells up, and I thought it was really cool. When I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's a scene where a window is open, and it's like someone's escaped, and there's like this cool Dutch angle zoom that the camera's completely still for the rest of the movie, and it really sticks out.
Yeah.
Unlike Battleship Earth or something where it just blends in. But and it also had a happy ending. I would almost go as far to say too happy.
Well, it's a picture book. It's a
fairy tale. But if you see the film, there's a certain element with his wife that is kind of spoiler. She has like terminally ill cancer. There's no hope at all, and then just she miraculously is okay. And I just thought, this film that's trying to show realism, but I guess it's a fairy tale. You're right, it's a fairy tale. Now that I think of it that way, and the only cons with that movie are really just that it's pretty slow. It's a pretty slow film, but it leaves you to kind of soak in all the shots and really think about what's on screen.
Builds a wonderful world.
Yeah, and the story, it's a story. It's a simple story. I didn't find it that compelling. Mm-hmm. I think it, it just tells a simple story, and it's a nice movie to just make yourself feel good. I really think. So that was Le Havre, directed by Aki Kaurismäki.
Wonderful
which
director.
I was so confused. That sounds like such an Asian name to me. I don't know. Is that weird that sounds Asian to me? Kaurismäki?
Kaurismäki.
It's just something that
it's like
sounds
close
like
to
you're always saying it
Kurosawa.
wrong.
He's Finnish, so
I'm just getting started.
Good old.
Hey! I'm sorry.
He's from good old
Workaholics.
Finland, but he's a wonderful director. I'd count him among my favorites. We were talking earlier, he has some ties with Jim Jarmusch, and you can definitely see like a similar style, especially if you've seen The Limits of Control. I think the color palette in that film and the way that movie moves is similar to.
I've heard of Limits of Control. Never seen
Totally different film, but the way the color palette and the way he films it is, you could see the ties there, and the way they pace things and their dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
But Aki Kaurismäki has made some wonderful films and some very funny films. Leningrad Cowboys Go America is an absolutely gut-bustingly hilarious film.
Really?
Yes.
I'll have to see that one. Next film, I had a lot of films. I actually wrote down all the films that I saw, so it's going to be long. But that wasn't like a jab at you guys. But
no, go for it.
So go for it. I'll just make fun of you. Next film I saw last night was American History X. I'd never seen that.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Directed by Tony Kaye,
Tony Kaye.
1998.
Everyone's seen this one, right? We're all on the same page on American
everyone's
History.
seen it,
We all
yeah.
know what to say.
And if you're interested about Tony Kaye made a documentary called Lake of Fire, which is pushing 2.5 hours long about the abortion issue in the United States. And its thing is it's shot in black and white, and it tries to be very objective about the whole situation. It shows both sides of the argument, and it almost goes to no effort to influence your opinion.
Right.
It really does
presents
just
the argument.
show you what's going on. And I know a lot of documentary films, they say they just show you what's going on, but they really do have a bit of a
Bias
because
to
they show one side more than the other, or it's just
Sure.
inherent in the film. But this one really is like 50-50 down the middle.
Wow.
There's some really gruesome sequences where you do see abortions,
Ugh.
and it's a tough film to watch,
Did watch a movie this week.
but it's an excellent documentary. And Tony Kaye labored on it for a long time, several years. And if you're interested in American History X and you like that film, I would suggest checking that one out.
That's
But
cool.
American History X.
Yeah,
let's get on to
I
that.
thought. Well, go ahead.
Let's just get on to that. This was your first time viewing it, Connor?
Yeah, the first time I'd ever seen it. I thought Edward Norton and Edward Furlong, the kid from Terminator 2, so awesome. I thought they were both really good in it. I think it's a movie with just really interesting characters. I mean, skinheads are, I shouldn't say skinheads, neo-Nazis, Nazi sympathizers. They're very interesting people for obvious reasons. And it's just a really entertaining film. I thought like the way they had black and white as the flashback and color and normal, and you kind of see how like you start to see like in the normal in the color world, the present world, you see Edward Norton with his brown hair, and then like in the past, everyone's just like black or white. It's kind of
And
like
it also shows the black and white morality of the character in the
Exactly,
past, whereas the
sure that was
present
no mistake,
part is
but-
trying to
Now
Yeah.
he sees
reconcile.
right,
Form.
and
Yes.
then you have the colorful world where things aren't always one color or another.
Things have different
know.
shades of morality. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was really cool. I think
Best line from that movie: "I will feed you your heart."
yes.
Yeah,
That
that's
is a good
actually my
line. That is a
favorite
good
scene
line.
when he tells
Best scene from that
you
movie.
know.
Stomp.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Gears of War scene.
Oh boy.
The only thing I didn't like about the film, well, a couple things. I didn't like how there was a lot of obvious symbolism.
It's
like,
heavy-handed.
It is
It's
very
super
heavy-handed.
heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I think it's over dramatic. I think the music it's like they had one sample track or like temp track and they just use that for the entire film.
At times, the movie is extremely overly dramatic. It's just like...
Right. The basketball scene, they're playing basketball, and it's like the death of Willem Dafoe in Platoon. It's like what it sounds like. And I'm like, this is what... They're just playing basketball. Like, yeah, it's a dramatic scene, but it shouldn't be that dramatic. I think it's really heavy-handed, and I think
it's one of those films where I feel a similar way about this, not in the same way about the film, I'd say, but I do feel that both films are kind of dated. American History X and Fight Club. I think that they're seen today as like kind of landmark films of the late 90s. But I do think that if you watch them today, they have kind of shown their age.
Sure. I think American History X way more than Fight Club.
I wouldn't really compare that because I am of the camp that Fight Club is really not a good movie.
Oh, okay.
I really don't like Fight Club. I think it's a shallow film that has the appearance of being deeper than it is because it's shot really well and acted really well and directed really well, but it just doesn't really have much going on beyond that. That's my opinion. I've gotten a lot of... I've gotten a lot...
Some pretty hardcore fans, you're probably...
hate for that opinion.
I'd say I'm a fan of Fight Club, but not for like the reasons where like everybody's like, oh, you're a space monkey, and like all this Fight Club terminology. There's like a lot of Fight Club terminology.
Not that, yeah.
But the reason I like it so much is that it's like, I think, one of the few mainstream... I guess it's mainstream now, but it's like a popular film where the like catharsis or end of the film is just compromise, where like, I don't know, I thought that was really well done, where like, I mean, that's the point, is that he's either Edward Norton or he's Brad Pitt, and like the whole time he's trying to find his middle.
Well, I mean, when I was saying Fight Club, I wasn't meaning to compare the films in terms of like
the
narrative.
I get what you're saying.
I was saying like, they are both films where they have become such like when you think of like the late 90s in American cinema, those films come to mind for a lot of people.
Well, we're getting to the point where it's been long enough that we can start to look at them in a outside view.
And historical
we're outside
aspect,
of the moment. So we're finally getting to look at them in that historical context.
American History X, I was surprised. I thought I was going to like it a lot less than when I first saw it. It's my second time viewing that movie. And to me, if that movie didn't have, for me at least, Edward Norton's central performance, I don't think it would have held up as well.
No, Edward Norton's just too fantastic.
The performances really tie that.
Like, you could, I think you place another actor in the film.
That rug really tied the room together. I just said tied the movie together.
Well, yeah.
I think if you removed Edward Norton from the equation in that movie, it would just not work as well as it did. It's just
or rather just someone who couldn't act the part.
Yeah. Exactly.
He was the crux of that whole film. No one else was really contributing.
Yeah.
Besides, I think, I can't remember his name. He played Saul in, was it Saul in Ocean's 11? The Jewish guy who comes to the house to court his mother. I can't remember that guy's name. I thought he was good, but he didn't really have that big of a part.
Yeah.
And then the guy who plays Sweeney is also really good, I think. But you're right, Edward Norton is...
Yeah, and it's just like, I was blown away by his performance. Like, I couldn't believe how good he is. And it's great because the way the film is, the way the film story is told is that it's told through the flashback as well as the present day narrative. And, you'll see Edward Norton come back from prison, and you know that he's changed, and you know that he's not the same man that he was when he was a neo-Nazi, but you don't know why. And the film keeps on going, and you're waiting for it, when you finally get to the scene where he's in prison and what he goes through, it's so... I think it still resonates well.
Right.
I think it still works really well. It's just very good acting. I think the script is not as good as the way the actors deliver it. If that makes sense. I think it's a more...
It's a very actor-focused movie.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it helps where, like, the heavy-handedness in that movie is almost part of the world, that if once you, like, believe in that world, the heavy-handedness just doesn't...
I mean, we were talking about, after we watched it last night, we were also talking about Boys in the Hood for a little while.
Yeah, we made a comparison to Boys in the Hood because those are two films that we really like, but do have a certain brand of kind of over-dramaticism.
Yeah.
Like they're saying something, but they're also not very personal films. They're not very like...
I wouldn't say I mean, I don't know about Manchester X, but I would say Boys in the Hood is a very personal film. I would say there's definitely...
I think it's personal, but it's also not like, I don't know. I guess personal is maybe not the word. I think it just... American History X seems like a lot of producers came together and says, this will make a lot of money because it has a very good... It has a palatable message for the people who are going to see it. Much like Boys in the Hood.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
I mean, American History X is basically saying Nazism is wrong. Which
Yeah,
everyone
but
can
how
agree.
many people want to see a movie about that?
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
mean,
something that a producer would
What was
say.
that, 1990?
People already know Nazis are bad. Who's going to want to go see a movie about it? That's a downer. I think that would be a more casual producer's view to it.
I think maybe if you're gonna attribute American History X to some sort of like corporate fueled like looking at the analyst charts and saying what you want to how you like having like it be a more corporate film than like a personal auteur film, or you could say, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the only argument you can make is that maybe they wanted like an Oscar movie. They wanted to have like something that would probably go up for Best Actor or maybe Best
That's what I'm
Script.
saying is that the heavy-handedness
Best
is to
Screenplay.
get asses in seats. Is so people can come back and say, oh, it was so moving. Oh, and then they'll get people to go see the movie.
Well,
Whereas
that's
like
Hollywood,
a film...
man. That's Hollywood, man.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying.
It's
I'm just saying. Boys in the
yeah.
Hood and American History X
Are two
are two
examples, yeah.
films aimed to make a profit. Whereas like Do the Right Thing is not trying to cash in on anything.
See, I don't know if I would say it for Boys in the Hood. I mean, I think John Singleton did write and direct that movie, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
But I'm sure.
I don't think you can break it down to this movie was made to make money and this movie wasn't. I don't
Yeah.
think it's that.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not
simple.
trying to make it that simplistic.
I know you're not
just
trying to make it
I'm
that
just
simple,
trying to. I'm trying to make a case for the overdramaticism, like why that's there, versus like why American History X couldn't have had a little bit tighter script and maybe a better soundtrack and maybe some better direction.
I think maybe the overdramaticism is simply maybe just they're products of their time. Like they're just coming from that kind of time.
Although you mentioned Fight Club, and I don't remember Fight Club being that kind of eye roll overdramatic.
Oh, I
It's
roll my eyes about 99% of the
Yeah,
time.
Well,
that
I think
movie-
that's-
I am rolling.
I think
my
that's just
eyes are in
because-
perpetual
it's not.
roll.
You wouldn't.
It makes you dizzy.
You wouldn't
I
roll
got
your
so
eyes
dizzy
at Fight
watching
Club.
Fight Club because I couldn't stop rolling my eyes.
You wouldn't roll your eyes at Fight Club because of its overdramaticism. You roll your eyes at Fight Club, but how it's so like it's the style of it, kind of. The,
Fight Club
the
comes
tone.
off. Fight Club comes off like it thinks it's telling you something you don't know, and I already know that.
Well, okay, well,
I
it's-
can
well,
see
I'm
that.
like, I get it.
But I
I
mean,
got
like,
it an hour and a half ago.
If you watch
Calm
it
down.
at an impressionable age, like I did, it seems like that. It seems like, whoa, I'm really getting in on the skinny here. Especially if you watch it at an age where like
No,
R-rated
it's-
movies are a new thing to
Yeah,
you.
well,
and
that's
things
what we're
like
saying.
that.
Now it's been 15 years or so since those movies
Oh,
came out,
sure.
and now we're looking at them from a different, or
Yeah.
the world in general is looking at them from
But
a
I
different
think-
perspective
I
and saying maybe this wasn't.
And no,
Oh,
exactly,
no
you know.
offense to David Fincher, he's definitely one of the best directors of his generation. I would think, like of that.
Do you disagree with that, Jared?
Really?
No,
Jarrod White?
he's a highly proficient and talented technical director. His movies qualities, the quality of
Yeah.
a film directed by David Fincher is entirely dependent upon the script.
You think so?
Yes.
I don't know. I think
Yeah,
if
the
you
best
gave,
movie, the best movie David Fincher has made is The Social Network, and that's the best script he's ever worked with.
I would disagree, but go
I
ahead.
would disagree. I think if you gave 7 to a different director, or maybe
Oh yeah,
Or
but
Zodiac.
it's
Oh, yeah,
that's like
7
tight
is so
script.
the direction of it. That plot is so
that
simple.
if you gave it to someone who just wasn't nearly as talented, that movie.
Yeah,
would
because
not
he's a
have
talented
pulled
director,
off.
but he
Yeah, but
like,
that's what you were saying. Like,
but the Seven's a pretty good script. It's not a perfect script, and it's not a perfect movie, but
But I
It's a-
think 7 could be taken at so many different angles.
Yeah, I
than
don't-
just
Yeah.
the Fincher one.
I
And
think someone could have made a better movie out of Seven than Fincher said. Not that
I think
I
so.
like Seven.
I feel like
But-
7 was made for David Fincher. That fucking movie. Same with Fight Club.
yeah, I think I don't know. I wouldn't say. I mean, I'm not saying.
Well,
like,
I don't think there could be a really good movie made out of the Fight Club. For me, I don't think someone could make that.
Are you a
movie.
fan of the book at all, or?
I've never read the book.
Oh, okay.
I've
I
never
wouldn't
read
say the book
but
is like
if
gonna change your mind, but
if you're someone who's on Fight Club, American Psycho is the movie that does what people say Fight Club does. Right. I would say American Psycho
Huh.
is a much better film.
and
And it's a similar
Compared to Fight
dissection of the consumerism and the emptiness of the,
I don't-
the male psyche. It's a similar type of.
interesting.
It's got a similar
But-
type of dark humor, social critique to it, and I much prefer that film.
but the thing is with Fight Club, it ends with the main character being like, "This is retarded. We shouldn't be blowing up buildings." Things like this. It's self-critique. It's
And I knew that 2 hours ago.
What like when
What did I
watching?
learn watching Fight Club?
Oh,
I
see what
learned
you
I
mean.
learned nothing.
I don't know. It's a pretty charming film to me.
Well, if
It's
you like it,
pretty
I
awesome.
can't argue. You can't argue with taste, but I'm
No.
just
No, you can't
punching
argue with
holes and
taste.
shit.
What did you say?
I said I'm just punching holes and shit.
What do you mean by that?
I'm just
plot holes?
picking apart stuff. I'm just
Oh,
making
okay.
up, forming an argument,
Oh no, yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, shooting the shit,
Shooting the
and
breeze.
punching holes in it.
Uh,
I got my 3-hole punch right here.
there you go.
Where were we talking?
Fucking loose leaf over here.
I feel like we.
A long time ago, we were talking about a movie,
American History X.
American History X.
So that's one of those films
Don't
that's
kill me, Fight Club
in the
people.
'90s.
I'm sorry I talked about Fight Club.
No, I'm
sorry.
I think you're safe. I think you have much more drastic opinions about it. I think.
Yeah, you want me to talk about how I think David Lynch's Dune is a masterpiece? Because I do.
Really?
Yeah, but we'll
Or
get
what
into
about how
that.
Days of Heaven is a piece of shit? Another day.
I just want to make it clear so nobody gets the wrong idea. I adore Terrence Malick. I've got my Blu-ray of Tree of Life sitting over there. That's one
It's
of my
true, I can
that's
see
one
it.
of my top 5 favorite films. I adore every Terrence Malick film except Days of Heaven.
Boom. Well, there's that. I'm gonna move on to
Anyways.
another film I watched. I watched 2 Gaspar Noé short films.
Oh, I
Um,
haven't
seen
seen
the
those.
shorts.
They are mucho interesante. Muy interesante.
Where do you see those?
These are on the YouTube.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of it. It's a brand new thing.
A social media
created
web,
about
web
2005
video
YouTube.
streaming device.
You're on it right now if you're listening to this. Basically, 2 short films. They're really, really short. One is George. You showed it to me. Sebastian Love in Motion, which I'm pretty sure is just a music video, but it's a really good short film. It's songs from a band called Sebastian. It's just basically this film of a brother or friend or something like that filming this very young, possibly like 9 or 10 years
Yeah,
old,
must be.
maybe, girl dancing in a very like adult, sensual way.
Oh boy.
There's
We're in familiar territory here.
Actually, I had a French kid stay with my girlfriend over the summer, and of course he's French like Gaspar Noé, and he shows me this video some girl sent him when she was 12 of her like
What
stripping
the
and
fuck?
stuff.
That's really
I
strange.
had just met this kid too.
Well, I guess he just wanted to brag or something. What?
Look what I got.
Oh no, yeah, this
How many
this
weird
French kid,
underage
whenever we went to
porn
the
films
store
do
to
you
buy
have?
something, he would open his wallet and just enough like let me know he had a condom in his wallet, like just.
How old were you at the time? Or
This
how
was
old
this
was
summer.
he? How old was he?
He's a year young, 2 years younger than me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. French,
I found.
French kids, huh?
I mean, just
Let's talk about the French for a
Ah,
second. Oh,
Frenchies.
comedy.
Oui, oui.
We and baguettes and all that
Let
shit.
us discuss.
I know I stumbled across that Gaspar No. Is it No or No Way?
I'm just gonna go with no.
No.
I've heard No Way. I
Let's
don't know.
I've
not
heard no
say
way
we
too.
know.
I said no way last time, and they were like, no, no,
No Way.
No, no.
no way,
Anyway,
There's
so
no way that's how it's pronounced.
no.
So I stumbled across it, and I was very like, I mean, it's like a lot of his films. They're very like they can be tough to watch at points. And I think that short films
Really?
is definitely challenge. It can be seen as challenging to some people because it is like a 9-year-old dancing in a really erotic way.
I found it to be like
It's weird, but I can see the point he's trying to make. I can definitely see like what he's like. I mean, the whole film is essentially about like the overly sexualization of like young girls and comes like beauty pageants or kind of like
Sure.
influence from like people like of young girls like our generation, like what's seen as popular and all this stuff. And I got it. I understand it. I can see. I mean, I like a lot of his films. It has that kind of like really like eccentric camera work.
yeah. That's one of the things I really liked about it was that it's
Yeah.
got that irreversible like
Yeah,
camera
it's,
going
it's,
all
it's
around.
like it's like an out of body experience.
Yeah, and the music is really awesome. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to get it on my iPad. I don't know what
What's
the
this
song
called
is.
again?
Sebastian Love in Motion.
Okay.
And there's awesome lighting too. It's like this really, I don't know, it's so distinct because it's lit like Irreversible. There's like these red, like soft lights.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of dark. And I think it's just like an original concept for a short film. I found it to just be a fun short film. The song's really fun. You know, the boy who's filming it, you see him in the mirror, he's smiling, the girl's having fun. I just think it's a fun film. It's kind of weird.
I think in terms of like, they don't give away any sense of what the story is, but I think if it's her little brother, and she wanted to like dress up and put on a show, and she doesn't really know what she's a little girl. She doesn't really know like what this is, like what she's really doing, and the implications of her actions. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of innocent.
Yeah,
it's really innocent.
It's innocent in terms of what the kids are trying to do. But I remember when I watched the video, like the comments, all the comments were about like, this is like disgusting and child pornography and all that.
You always get to those YouTube comments where it's like the 30th comment on an argument, and it's like so like
It's devolved where they're talking about Hitler.
Right. It's that
every
one fucking
YouTube argument
theory.
someone has to bring up Hitler.
Yeah, it's like
point.
listen.
What if Hitler?
Sexuality is a human trait. Blah blah blah, and it's like oh my god.
What if Hitler did this? You wouldn't say this if Hitler did it.
And it's like Ron Paul 2012 or like.
You're right.
It's
it just ends in some
politics.
weird. Yeah. It ends in some like, well, I don't know if there's a law for it. Maybe I don't know. It's always pathetic, but it's a really fun film. I think it's fun to watch. There's really nothing like shut the fuck up.
What kind of fun?
There's nothing sexual about it for me. It's recognizably like weird, but it's also just fun because it's people dancing to an awesome song.
Listen, you guys, I'm not a pedophile. I promise.
I'm not a pedophile. She could have been younger. It would have been cooler. No, I'm joking.
Well,
It's
Connor's
not a Roman
definitely been
Polanski
on
film or
a
anything.
Gasper
It was filmed at his house.
Well, definitely. I think you can all say people that know Connor. He's definitely been on a Gasper kick for quite some time.
Gasper no high.
Yeah.
Oh, dare I
A
say.
Gasper no trip.
Oh.
He's kind of entered the void.
Oh my god.
And he went so far, it's what's happened to him, it's irreversible.
Oh my god.
He's never going back.
None of you are with me. I stand alone. Okay.
Oh!
Jesus
No, well,
Christ.
and if you
Now we're
watched
with
his
you.
latest short film, Inspiration, I believe it's called, it came out.
Oh, I saw that this morning. I
YouTube.com/.
saw that this morning. And after I went to the
Boyman
hospital for my
117.
seizure, I
There
came
was a
back.
warning.
I know there was a warning, but
Yes,
I
I
think it was-
did.
I think
I
it was-
did. Not that we're going to talk about this. I did make a Gaspar Noé inspired short film.
Give yourself
Also
some
inspired
credit.
by my TA in my production class. But
No, I was
Gasper no TAs.
a quick
Oh my
moment
God.
on the short film you made. It was a little weird to click on the video and the disclaimer be this video contains flashing, and that was it. It didn't say flashing lights. Didn't say.
Oh, what else? You think it's just going to be women taking their tops
No,
off?
man.
Oh,
Yeah,
me
no,
just
but it-
flashing the
You know,
camera
like
frame.
the typical
all
flasher
be
with a
flashing.
trench coat, just flashing.
Stay tuned to find out what kind of flashing I'm talking about.
It was really just kind of like I remember like sitting there and being like, the fuck? Like, what are you implying? Like, what
You
are
are
saying?
immediately intrigued and interested. Yes, go on. No.
When you guys say flashing, the first thing I think of is that part of Pink Flamingos where David Lochary is out
never
flashing
seen
in the
that.
park and he pulls the trench coat apart and he has a huge long sausage tied to his cock.
I gotta see that. Fucking. I watched.
There's also a great scene in Pink Flamingos where Divine goes into like a butcher shop and starts shoving big hunks of steak up into her dress to steal them.
Oh, right. I know she eats shit in that movie too, which I want to see.
Spoiler alert!
Oh, that's like, come on.
So how much is that doggy in the window? That's the song.
Really?
Because it's a dog shit. It's dog shit.
Oh my god, I have to see this now.
You do have to see this now.
Jesus Christ.
John Waters, come back.
Oh, I know.
I watched. Well, okay. So another thing I liked about it, I just want to say the titles of the short film. If you guys see it, it's really cool. Just the titles. Gaspar Noé is just really fucking awesome with titles.
Yeah, we
Yes.
we were watching it. I just so you know.
Oh.
A couple guys in our dorm room have gotten a kick on Girls recently.
HBO's Girls. It's a really good show. We
Lana
don't have
Dunham.
to talk about it, but
Because that's television. It's not
right.
It's not
Her
cinema.
titles. Her
This
titles
isn't
are
TV
like.
fetish. So.
Yeah.
This is film fetish.
TV Fetish doesn't have that, you know. Her titles, every show, it's like a hard cut to this one color black text, like
Yeah.
girls. And there was straight up one episode where they did like flashing titles with like
Different
neon,
languages.
like Japanese writing. And then there was even a part in the show where they're at a party and one part of it is lit with a black light and there's like a fake glowing city there, like in an old voice.
And
there's a
and Lena-
Kanye West
yeah.
music video where he has Gaspar Noé's, like, he rips.
Yeah,
Gaspar's
it's
brains
all
off.
all the lights, all of
Oh,
all
is
of
that-
lights.
Yeah.
Well,
I
you
think
know-
he's ripping off that.
Oh yeah, no, it's completely. It's very.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
it's-
no, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I've
the
actually
titles
seen
of
that.
it are very
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's
think.
not even as good.
I mean, I didn't.
No, nothing's as good.
Well,
What are you-
Rihanna's
what are you
pretty,
crazy?
Rihanna's
Real
pretty
thing.
hot.
What are you
in it, so-
crazy? Whoa.
I know it's cool to see that like Kanye West
It's cool to see that people are just recognizing this
and Lena
badass
Dunham
director.
are like, yeah, just kind of like giving that props to him.
Yeah, for
If it's
sure.
if I mean, I think
It's good people are stealing his
they
ideas.
can.
yeah, yeah.
Making more money than he did off of it.
Yeah, well, that's the part that pisses me off.
No, it's not that. They're just paying a lot.
Alan Void made jack shit. I'm pretty sure. I've heard.
I mean, as far as
Comments.
I know, as far as Box Office Mojo will tell me, it
According
cost
to
$16
Murder
million to make and made over.
How much did it cost to make?
16 million.
And how much did Avatar cost to make? Same year.
And it made
Every picture is so
over
dense.
just over $700,000.
Every,
So much
every
shot.
image is so dense. There's so many things. I'm gonna do my best, Rick McCullum. Every image is so dense. There is so many things going on.
Every shot.
I
There's
don't
so
know.
many things going
Here
on.
comes the Star Wars.
No, we're 2 degrees
Can
from
you do
Star Wars.
Gungas,
We're
Gungas.
Just do one more.
It's
It's gonna be
Yeah,
great.
wait, shh.
It's gonna be great.
Well, the
We should
Gungas,
probably
they
stop
come out of the
talking
ocean
about
and
Into the Void.
they, the lightsabers, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, they come out with their laser swords.
You know, we've seen him fight, but we never seen him take out that, that little laser sword and go to town.
They just take out their laser swords
They
and
just
they just
cut
slice
through
them
him
up
like butter.
butter.
Cut through him like butter. It's gonna be great.
Han
No,
Solo.
If you guys know my mom's English, and when me and my brother were little and we had our lightsabers, she'd be like, Aaron, Jonathan, put away those Star Wars swords.
Oh, I have soul sword right now. Quite excited, so the separatist army.
Separatist army.
That's right, Federation. We have to get on the ship.
Do you think she's expecting an attack? 2 Jedi in the mid. Okay, we need to fucking stop that.
You like to do a run through episode 1 for us?
movement. Execute Order 66.
Wipe them out. All of them.
Get your kicks on Route 66.
Route 66.
How about Order 6?
Really don't mean to
Last film I watched. We still have to talk about Suspiria. God damn it. Last film I watched was another short film by Gaspar Noé. It's like a fucking 2-minute film. It's called Eva. It's not an anime. It's a short film. It's just this like model in the middle of a hotel hallway petting a cat, and it's just got cool music. Kitten is cute. Model's hot. Awesome editing. That's it.
Cool.
Boom. I'm done. Yes. Dear God, I'm starting to sweat. Does somebody else want to talk about Suspiria?
It's getting hot in here. Do you want me to talk about Suspiria?
Why don't we just all talk about Suspiria?
I'd love to talk about Suspiria.
Well, you have a positive opinion about Suspiria.
Well, let's give a little insight into what Suspiria is.
Right.
Made it.
Right.
Suspiria, Sarsaparilla.
Suspiria.
Sasso Spiria. It's a film about people. I don't know.
Suspiria is a 1977 Italian supernatural horror film directed by Dario Argento,
Awesome.
who was in the early 70s known for his giallo films, which are Italian mystery type films.
Yes.
He did what's called the Animal Trilogy, which is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, and The Cat O' Nine Tails.
Are those horror films?
Those are very gruesome mystery thrillers.
Interesting. Are those good?
Yes.
Okay, so unlike Suspiria, they are good films.
I love Suspiria.
I disagree. What's up with Suspiria? No, I don't think you love it. No. Tell me why you love.
Well, can we get? Well, let's give a little.
Oh, okay.
Context
It's
to the
about
films.
a girl who's going to a school for
Boarding-
ballet,
boarding school.
Academy,
boarding
yeah,
school for ballet academy,
in Germany.
and things go awry. Treachery is afoot.
There are some
Hilarity
occults.
ensues. There are some occult. The psychologist in the film calls it an occult. That's,
Udo Kier in a cameo appearance, because
I
why
wouldn't
the
know.
hell not Udo Kier?
I don't know who that is, but
That's him,
he
Udo Kier.
mispronounces occult. Anyways, shit goes down. really gruesome attacks happen to people at the place, and she finds out what it all means, and it's super scary.
What does it mean?
So, Jarrod, please enlighten us. Change my mind.
Oh, I don't know if I'm going to change your mind, and I
Probably
don't
won't.
set out to change your mind.
There you go.
I just reinforce my own opinions for myself.
There you go.
It's a purely masturbatory...
Cut his mic! No,
it's a
sorry.
purely masturbatory experience.
Oh, like before.
Oh. You jerk
Oh!
He jerks
Go
off to
Oh!
Yes.
Oh!
Film fetish.
We weren't supposed to talk about that on the show. Anyway, Dario Argento is definitely one of my favorite filmmakers. I've seen most of his movies. There's a few I haven't seen, and his new movie, Dracula 3D,
Oh yes, that's where it came
That's
from.
him.
I'm very excited to see. It's getting horrible reviews.
You hate 3D, Jarrod.
And I know, but it's Dracula 3D. That's the kind of movie that should be in 3D.
It's prefaced by Dracula, so you'll be there.
Dracula 3, like a good movie to see in 3D is like Paul Morrissey's Flesh for Frankenstein or Blood for Dracula. Those the two Andy Warhol Paul Morrissey movies that were done in 3D, where they like hold guts out and they're like, guts in 3D. That's the kind of 3D movie
That's
I
cool.
want to see, where it's fun and cheesy and campy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see a highly immersive 3D experience
well,
where the world and
some characters don't deliver the lines very well, so I just kind of use 3D to make them better actors. So
Yeah. I get what you
every set that we were on had a blue screen. It
I don't think any of them had not blue screens. I think everyone did.
Oh, George Lucas. Anyways, moving
but
on.
speaking of 3D, there's some Suspiria was shot anamorphic, not anamorphic widescreen, with anamorphic lenses, which is basically the image is compressed, and then when they print it, they stretch it to the normal aspect ratio.
So it looks like
And
shit, kind of.
No,
It looks.
it gives it a.
like what?
It looks like Suspiria looks like, which is fucking
That's a
amazing.
great excuse.
It
yes.
does. It. I can. I do. I see
Suspiria
what
looks
you're saying.
amazing,
There was
and there's a
that-
shot towards the end when she walks into the room, and it seems to like
Yeah.
turn
Yeah.
around her, and that is more 3D than I've ever seen in a 3D film.
Yeah,
that
that-
shot, she's
The-
walking around the room, and the camera is slowly panning, and the background literally looks like it's a curved.
I didn't
That's-
notice that.
surface.
I thought
the
that was
MC
just like
Escher
the TV
painting, right?
fucking
Is
up.
that right?
I noticed that.
Is the MC Escher mural?
Yes,
That's
yes,
that wall?
the-
That's interesting.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about.
Yes.
Oh, that. Yeah, that definitely
That
did
room
stretch.
looks-
I honestly thought that was just like kind of like something weird with the TV.
If you look at the image, is like it does have a warped quality.
It
to
does.
it. And all of Suspiria is filmed like a nightmare. It is a nightmare, and
Yeah.
it's illogical in a way because a nightmare isn't logical. There's like I know there's some moments where you could say, oh, that's kind of like, why does she do that, or is that character doing that? I wouldn't do that. But it's like these characters are trapped in a nightmare they can't get out of, and their actions aren't always logical.
That's fine. Then spare me all these minutes of trying to make the film real with this like realistic dialogue and this boring.
You think the
ass
dialogue's
exposition.
realistic?
It seems like it's.
I think
attempting to be.
the dialogue's highly nuanced and stylistic.
I couldn't
Especially
disagree more.
with that like pretty boy guy who just talks really strangely.
He talks very strangely.
Yeah.
I just think
And with
there was
it's
so
like
much.
creepy,
Every
like-
cool, horrifying thing was met with 30 minutes of downtime and stupid, bad acting. Maybe it's the script, but I thought the acting was not good. I think maybe the whole surrealist aspect isn't. It seemed like it was a grindhouse film, which is like just trying to get people in seats and trying to get them to like be basically trying to make money. I just feel like the artistic aspect of it was an afterthought. I don't think the weirdness comes from this like intentional, nuanced craftsmanship. I think it's just they just had a low budget and they fucking hired weird actors and horrible scriptwriters.
Oh, I highly disagree.
Okay, maybe I have to see his other films.
Yeah,
Yeah, if his other films
it's-
are of a higher quality, then that makes sense.
It's very much in Dario Argento's style. He has a certain way of making films, and obviously it isn't for everyone, but
No,
it's.
I found it abysmally boring. I know George
I find
had a snooze.
No, I'm
Just for a
just. I
second.
was just very tired, but I found the. I mean, I gotta say, I found the very, maybe like first 10-15 minutes of the film to be really interesting.
Yeah, the very beginning and the very end, I loved. Middle part,
The
wanted to
beginning.
kill myself. I like the part where the blind guy got killed by his own dog because I think that's just like a really metal way to get
Fabulous.
killed.
That scene is
It's just-
fabulous.
Yeah.
What visuals there.
Yeah.
And when those two police officers come in, it's almost like a Clockwork Orange type image.
Yeah.
You know, when they're going in the tunnel and they're
Yeah.
wearing the white suits and those like pillars. It
Yeah.
very much reminded me of Clockwork
Right.
Orange.
I think there were some definitely interesting visuals in there. I did feel like, now I think you might disagree with me on this, Jared, but the cinematography, I thought, while at times it was interesting, I felt that it was rather repetitive. I think
The long hallway shots.
No. I mean, I'm talking about the use of very like the light, like the red, like very harsh red lights, very like harsh blue lights, green lights. I feel like
Well, I don't know how much that's more the set design and
Set
the
design.
production
That's,
design.
yeah,
and
that
the
was one of the reasons I
cinematography.
liked it though. Was that
I love
the lighting
was
of
cons-
the lighting of.
I felt that like it was really consistent with like its style. Like the problem I had with Escape from Tomorrow was that I could understand it was surrealist, but it didn't feel consistent to me. And it felt like where that movie was like he's kind of descending into a surrealist nightmare. That was not presented well for me, and it just didn't feel consistent throughout the whole film. But with Suspiria, I was like, all right, I know what I'm in for. There's gonna be
Right.
crazy green, red, and blue lights
Yeah.
throughout the
But
movie.
Yeah,
if you notice
but-
when she leaves the
yeah.
academy, it's
everything's
fairly
normal.
straight laced
No, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that like
in terms of the lights.
It's
because
even,
of all
it's even
the
black and
it's-
white almost for that.
Yeah, it's like you're
yeah.
entering this world, and I mean,
And the fucking building is red and all the halls are painted red.
I felt
it's
that
so strange.
I felt that when she wasn't in the boarding school, the scenes that took place outside of it had more atmosphere than the scenes that were inside the boarding school. I
Yeah,
felt
I
like
thought
I feel
it
like
was,
of
like,
all
too
the
much.
lights, it just felt artificial to me.
Right.
It took me out of the experience.
I was just thinking in two practical terms. I was thinking, okay, they're shining green lights because of this. They're doing this.
Yes.
I was thinking about it probably too hard. Or just like, I don't know. I feel like I maybe had a bias, but I found the film, I didn't really like it.
yeah, a
Did
lot
not
of it
like
is just Euro horror too. Euro horror
That's the
is
thing,
very
yeah.
different than American horror. If you watch, Mario Bava films or Jean Rollin films, they have a very like dreamlike kind of unrealistic
Sure.
vibe to them. They're not like American grindhouse films that are like, let's go out in the woods and throw blood on people and it's about hillbillies killing people, like, which I
Yeah.
love those films too.
They're a little bit more
But it's-
romanticized, these films.
They are more romantic, which you could draw back through the ages of American
Yeah.
versus European.
Sure.
European, it goes back to knights and armor and dragons and this
Sure.
very like regal kind of fantasy, and American folklore goes back to people out in the woods
Yeah.
starving to death.
See, I can definitely see what you're saying, Jared,
And
about.
the animal that exists in real life came over and killed the person instead of like a fucking ghost witch thing.
Yeah.
But do you find, Jared, the central story of the film to be interesting?
The
like the-
I found none of the characters were relatable at all, or just I didn't sympathize with anyone.
I
didn't
just
give a
didn't-
shit that she was.
My main
herself.
problem was
I
that
like
the
the main
central
character.
story just wasn't interesting me at a certain point. I kind of
the
got
story
away
is
from me.
definitely not the selling point of the film. It's more Dario Argento veering towards his supernatural
Mm-hmm.
phase where he made supernatural movies, because he had been doing these mystery stories, which are highly, I would say the style and the execution of those movies is the high point of those giallos too, but they are more plot structured and more narrative. They all have a twist at the end, a mystery is revealed. They're not conventional mysteries by any standards. The Cat of Nine Tails is a really good one. The main character's
I've heard about that one, yeah.
The main character's blind and he's trying to solve this mystery.
Weird.
Very
That's
cool.
strange.
But the story is definitely not the selling point, and I think in the hands of another director, it would fall 1,000,000% flat.
Yeah, I think if anything, he does have an interesting sense of direction and.
I think it did fall flat though. But go ahead, George. Sorry.
Well,
No,
if you
that's
don't, if
all
you
I'm
don't like
saying.
Dario Argento's sensibility, you're stuck with it for
Yeah.
98 minutes. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But if you like it, I'm in blissful heaven watching that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I love that movie.
I feel
I've
like
seen
I
it a few
fall
times and it
somewhere
gets
in the
better
middle.
and better, I think. I loved it the first time, but it gets better and better.
Go ahead, George.
I said I think I fall somewhere in the middle between Jared and Connor's opinion. I think that I see the appeal in it, but I just don't think maybe I think maybe the pacing was the main issue for me. I felt the way the film was paced just kind of didn't do it for me. Maybe because I was kind of out of it today and I wasn't really feeling into that kind of slow paced movie. Maybe, but I would be interested to see his other work and to, see how this one relates to them in some way.
I think if I had something.
I think if I had some context more to him as a director.
Yeah.
I think I would greater appreciate this film.
I know Dario Argento wasn't like this for me because Suspiria was the first one I saw and I loved it immediately. But some directors definitely, like the first one you see, you're like, you can't quite like get a grasp on it. But once you see more and you return to that one, you kind of get more what he was going for.
Sure.
I gotcha.
It might be a case of that to some extent. I'm not going to say it's ever going to be a favorite for you, but you might come to appreciate it in a different way, even if it's not for you exactly.
I appreciated it knowing now that it wasn't just trying to be a cheap cash-in. Because you were saying the tagline of the movie was cheesy and all this.
Oh yeah,
you
gotta sell the movie. You gotta sell the movie.
But, there's probably some artistic vision I maybe missed. But maybe another viewing sometime in the future. Aaron, what did you think?
For me, the atmosphere was really, really effective. Which basically kept me interested the whole time. I mean, the story was like, I mean, it was okay. It was like a story I think we've all seen other versions of the same story. But, I mean, the whole tone just kind of like sucked me in, I guess. And it's not like I don't have this great appreciation for horror movies. It's like one of the few horror movies I've seen. I've seen like The Shining, and that's like one of the few other horror movies I've seen.
Yeah.
But I just, it didn't like engage me completely because, it's hard to follow. But I was at least interested in seeing like where every scene was going to go. Like, like the scene starts, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to end. I mean, but...
I would say that the story maybe be a little predictable. You figure out fairly early that there's some witchcraft going on at the academy. But the way that the scenes play out and the way that it's structured is really unredible. Even like the nature of the cuts.
Sure.
They lull you into this sense of hypnotism with that music, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah.
And you're lost. You don't know what's gonna even if it doesn't scare you, you're like, I don't know what's happening
I just think that for me there was no tension built. I think when every single scare or whatever you have is presented in the middle of just nothing, and then you have more downtime. I just feel like there's no build-up, and all the build-up that it is doesn't climax. It's just like a tease.
Yeah.
For me, the build-up, I didn't really care that it wasn't building up because early on I kind of figured at some point she's gonna find a room with people chanting. At some point she's gonna find the big reveal of they're all witches or something. And so I just kind of let myself appreciate what I was seeing.
It's the nature in which the predictable events unfold that makes it so fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
The way it's shot, everything about the style.
Yeah, she's gonna die, you just don't really know how. And then when it happens in a weird way, it's like, well, I guess that's not what I was expecting, but I kind of prefer God damn it, I like McDonald's. I want McDonald's. When I go to McDonald's, I want McDonald's. I like scares. When I want to have something scary happen, I want there to be tension and a climax. So I guess it just wasn't... I guess I just didn't have a refined enough taste to just kind of enjoy that weirdness of it.
It's not a boo witches movie. It's not boo witches. It's kind of like witches.
Even if it wasn't boo, I mean
witches.
there's tension. There's tension in different ways than just jump scares.
Yeah, and if it didn't work for you, then
but
can't argue with taste.
Indeed.
Well, I can, but
right. So I don't know. It seems like you guys found it interesting. I found it interesting. I don't think it was a waste of my time. I think it's definitely different, but it's just not a movie I would go out and intentionally.
They did have those funny shots with the back of the guy's head. I thought that was funny too.
There was some really funny, weird crap, when they're all sleeping in the gym or whatever, and then it's just red lights. But that's probably the surrealist kind of aspect of it. I don't know.
I would say if you are a fan, if you're already familiar with the director and you're already familiar with the type of genre this film is, I would say go for it. I think maybe actually if you're looking into getting into that genre,
this is a gateway film into
would
Euro
say
horror.
So.
This is one of the ones that's crossed over into kind of the horror canon. I know the first time I ever heard about this movie was in one of those top 50 scariest movie moments things on Bravo that I watched when I was like 7 years old,
Sure.
because I've always loved horror movies, and watching that when I was like 7 years old, and that was like on the
What
list.
was the moment at the end?
I forget what the exact moment is, but I remember they showed, I never was able to forget, they showed a clip from the trailer, and in the trailer there's this Suspiria. And when they
So
say
good
that,
over
there's this, the title of the movie is like in this pulsating, it almost looks
that's
like
really
the
cool.
letters are made out of hearts, and
Yeah.
pulsating, and it's that
like
scared the
organs.
shit out of me.
Yeah, it's really
like just that image of the pulsing and the Suspiria.
Yeah.
Like something about that creeped me out, and that was all I remembered about it. Years later, I was like, oh, that's that movie with the creepy titles.
Yeah, I think it's a really well marketed film.
Yeah.
Um,
But it is kind of it's one of the only movies that's passed over the threshold into kind of being a, I don't want to say mainstream, but a more well-known Euro horror. So it's one of the first that I think people see.
yeah, it's like the most famous in a subgenre.
And I know it's a love it or hate it movie. Some people say, oh, I hated that, and then they don't go farther into that
Yeah,
subgenre. And then other people are like, I dug it, I totally dug it, and they go nuts.
right,
Because there's so many great films in that
sure.
mold.
So yeah, speaking of horror films, we're now on Film Fetish. We're going to do a question of the week. We will take a user-submitted question, or we will come up with a question if we deem it necessary, and we will go around and answer the question. Send in your emails to filmfetishpodcast@gmail.com. That's how we're going to get user-submitted questions. We will answer them on the show if we like your question. If we don't, we'll just make fun of you or whatever. So this week's question is, with the Halloween season coming up, what is your favorite horror film? I'm going to start with George, since he's
I don't
our
want to.
guest.
I go. You guys start. I gotta think about this for a second.
Jared, do you want to start?
I can start.
Do
You
it.
want me to start? Think about it long and hard. There's a lot of. I'm a huge horror fan.
Yeah, this is a big question for you.
This is a big question for me, and it's hard to just pick one because it's like, can I pick my favorite American horror film?
Yeah.
Pick my favorite Italian horror film? But
yeah.
came down to a few. I mean, Videodrome is one that's definitely up there, and the original Nosferatu definitely up there.
Okay.
But I picked this one because if I hadn't have seen this film when I had, I probably wouldn't be here today. This is like one of the few films I can say that actually changed my life. And it's the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Tobe Hooper's film
Yeah.
from 1974.
Good.
I saw the film for the first time when I went on a bit of a horror binge Halloween season one year. I think I was 12 or 13. Late middle school, early high school years.
Yeah.
And just decided, oh, it's Halloween. I like horror movies. Gonna watch some of the classics I haven't seen. I saw Halloween for the first time, and Nightmare on Elm Street, and watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was glued to my seat, gripping the sides, biting my lip, totally immersed and horrified by this movie that was unlike anything I'd ever seen before, because Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like...
It's the greatest fucking title of any movie of all time.
I know.
I think that's probably the greatest title.
It's
of
one
any
of the
movie.
greatest
Texas
titles.
Chainsaw Massacre.
It
tells you what it is.
tells you what
tells
it
you
is.
where it is, and tells you how fucking awesome.
And
it's gonna be.
goddamn, what a title. You
God.
want to see that movie.
Yeah.
And
It's like a punchline almost. Like, oh,
It
you want
is.
to see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
And
It's
then
like, oh my
the
God.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. But it is in that classic American horror movie canon, but it doesn't really fit in with the others. It's way less polished. It's a grindhouse movie through and through. It's
Yeah.
something you saw on a double bill at
Sure.
a drive-in in the back seat of a station wagon.
So
That
romantic.
when you were way too young to see, and you went, your parents put you to sleep after the first movie, but you stayed awake and you peeked out of the corner of your eye to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it scared the shit out of you.
Yeah.
It's that kind of movie.
That's
and
cool.
but there's some great things about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I think people who haven't seen it, they have a misconception about it.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre has about 5 drops of blood in the whole movie. There's one sequence in the beginning where someone cuts themselves on the hand, and that's the only blood in the whole movie, more or less.
Uh-huh.
All of the kills are pretty much off screen. A lot of it's implied, and the great thing about it is people come away from that movie and say how gruesome it was, how violent it was. Like, that's thought of as one of, like, the most gory movies.
Right.
And there's literally nothing, you barely see anything. It's all in your mind, and so much of it is just implied. But there is this sequence towards the end. I'm not going to spoil anything. All I'm going to say is the dinner table. And oh my god, if you can sit through that and not be, like, squirming in your seat and wanting to laugh at the same time in the strangest way,
Yeah.
it's movie magic like
Yeah.
I've never seen before. And the great thing about that sequence is when Tobe Hooper, like 10 years later, made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2,
Oh, wow.
he said, there's no way I'm going to be able to top that movie. There's no way I'm going to be able to live up to it. I'm going to make it a fucking comedy.
Nice.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a dark comedy. And they do that dinner sequence almost beat for beat, but turn it into a straight up comedy. And you're rolling with laughter. And
Wow.
that same thing, that was so terrifying.
That's so funny that a director would be like, I'm going to be honest with myself. I can't top myself.
I can't top it, yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Tobe Hooper is kind of an unsung hero. I mean, people generally say he went downhill and didn't really make anything good after Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I couldn't disagree more. But it is his best film. And I'd say it's my favorite horror film.
Awesome. Aaron, do you
Sure.
have a favorite horror film? I know you probably haven't seen a lot.
This is sometimes put on horror film lists, but one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time is A Clockwork Orange, which
Okay.
some people
Yeah,
consider a
that's
horror
fine.
film. I don't really. I
It's
mean, I consider
horrific.
it more of a dystopian sci-fi. But I mean, to me, it's in my top 3 favorite movies ever. My favorite part about that movie is that everything that happens in the beginning seems really, really exploitative and insignificant almost, but then it all comes back, and you're like, oh, I should have been paying attention earlier. Oh, like
Right.
every single thing that happens in the first half actually meant something, and it's just the perfect, like, you're hypnotized almost.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I just watched this and was influenced, but didn't even know it exactly.
Right.
Like it's just meant to mirror the main character, but I think it's really, really genius.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's about all I have to say about Clockwork Orange.
That's cool.
It's kind of horror.
If you like A Clockwork Orange, there's a anime called Akira.
I haven't seen it.
Akira.
I haven't
Akira.
seen it yet, but I really want to.
It's
Akira's a
essentially
masterpiece.
if you think about it, someone at my film camp like a long time ago said that it's basically A Clockwork Orange set to anime, because if you think about it, it's a
It's
gang.
got some elements.
Yeah,
It's got some
it's
elements.
like a gang where one of them gets taken away and the government
Yeah.
tries to change them into
I
something
mean,
they're
the
not.
thrust and the purpose of the story is totally different, but
Oh,
it's
sure.
got some basic elements.
Yeah.
But I think those are elements that appear in a lot of sci-fi.
Mhm.
Cornerstone. It's a cornerstone novel and film, Clockwork Orange, so it pervades
Yeah.
the
Oh,
media.
but I
love
would
the
watch
book. The
Akira.
book is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could create one image that would sum up the meaning of Clockwork Orange, it would be Alex in the Ludovico, but over the shoulder, and on the screen he would be watching the same image that you're seeing, an endless image of people watching people during the Ludovico treatment. Like
Huh.
that endless, like an
right.
endless mirror type thing. He's
You're right.
watching himself watching himself watching. Because that, I think, is the thrust of that movie, where you're watching and you don't realize that you're being
You're being
Yeah.
you're being
yeah.
subjected to an experiment. And then when they get to the second half of the film and it changes gears and you're like, oh wait, everything I thought I knew,
Mm-hmm.
it's not so clear anymore.
Right.
Yeah, you
And
think you're watching an
realize
exploitation
that
film
you're-
with rape and violence, and then you're right.
you realize you've been subjected to a treatment too, and you're being
Yeah.
altered. Brilliant movie.
Yeah. So brilliant. George.
For me, it's tough. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a horror film connoisseur of sorts. I dabble in horror films,
He does.
but I mean, like, I would love to say that my favorite horror film would be Sam Raimi's masterpiece, Evil Dead 2, but I do know that the film is very campy, and I think I like it. I think I love the Evil Dead almost more because of the story of how it was made than maybe
Yeah.
the
Totally.
quality of the film. And I can admit the first Evil Dead is not
And just who Sam Raimi is
a
as a
perfect
director.
film, but I think everything is very personal to me, and I just kind of I don't know why I feel that way about it, but I just really have a strong connection to those, at least Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2. Army of Darkness, not so much, but he was
Army
in
of Darkness is so different.
Yeah,
Great movie
yeah.
too,
Different
but
movie.
totally
Great
different.
But if I would say traditional horror, I mean, I might go with The Exorcist. Actually, I really
Haven't seen that one actually.
I think William Friedkin, the run he had
I'm a
with
huge William Friedkin
with
fan.
with films like The French Connection, The Exorcist, and then Sorcerer, which is really a remake of Wages of Fear.
Wages of Fear, yeah.
I think he had just a great run, and he just had this documentary style was just so. I remember when I saw it for the first time, it was just like it really. I felt really immersed in it. I felt like I could have been watching his exorcism, like I mean, granted, I was like 12 years old, but I felt like I was actually witnessing his exorcism, and the special effects still in that film are really, they really do hold up.
Yeah.
And I watched it actually recently, like last Halloween, and I was shocked by it again. I was actually like shocked by some of the content. When the scene where she, does the crucifix,
Yeah.
and the scene with all the you haven't seen it.
I have
right?
not seen it. No.
I think it's just great, and then I forget Max von Sydow's in that.
Oh, he's so great in that
He's
too.
so good.
He's in an Argento film too,
But
called Sleepless.
I think actually the
good performance in a.
I think the scariest moment in The Exorcist. I'm not gonna spoil it for Connor and people that haven't seen it, but the scariest moment of The Exorcist is the scene where they are playing. They're in the party and they're playing the piano, and Reagan comes down the stairs and she stands at the threshold, and you know what the line. You know what the line is, right? But don't say it. But you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
just
then-
have to watch this tonight.
And then she
because
does
I'm
what
gonna
she
have to
does,
really
and
see
it's
it.
just you immediately feel unsettled in that scene,
Yeah.
in the party scene for people that don't know.
I think one of the scariest scenes of The Exorcist is when they give her shock treatment.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's probably my scariest moment of it's terrifying.
Yeah.
This little girl, and she has it's totally out of her control, everything that's happening to her,
Yeah.
which is the creepiest part about it, I think.
I mean, I remember like I would hear stories from my dad about when the film came out and he went to go see it with his friends, lying around the block, so much buzz around the movie, and the theater is doing like a marketing promotion where they had an ambulance
Yeah.
outside the theater.
Old William Castle stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and they had guys bringing in stretchers into the theater and carrying people out, and people were like, "Oh my god!" Like people were having like
My dad
anxiety attacks over it, and it's one of the best. I mean, like, and of course, one no one mentioned was probably The Shining. I don't know if you were gonna mention that, Connor.
Shining is
actually.
a great film.
Oh, Connor might mention The Shining.
Oh,
Actually, you know what? Actually,
the cat's out of the bag.
Actually, you know what? I was watching with Maxwell the other night, a couple nights ago. We were watching the original Dawn of the Dead, and
Oh.
remembering that movie actually now.
You know who produced Dawn of the Dead? Dario Argento. He also
Here we
composed
go.
additional music, and Goblin did the score
Well, there you go.
for Dawn of the Dead. There is the connection.
the music by the Goblins. Go
Well,
ahead.
Dawn of the Dead is another great
I
one.
love Dawn of the Dead.
I think
And Day of the Dead.
When
Day of the Dead's good too.
Fantastic.
When you were
It might-
talking about The Exorcist, my dad said that I think that was like the only movie maybe not the only movie, but he said he walked out of it. He was so terrified. Or
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know if he did. I think he did, but he said at least he walked out of it, or somebody walked out of
Yeah.
it, or something like that.
it's interesting though, because for me with horror films, I kind of equate. I'm more into films that have a disturbing quality to them than films that are just strict horror. Like I
Right.
watch a film like Blue Velvet, and I see certain scenes in that film, I am just very disturbed and put off by it. And to me, that I feel like that has a horror quality to it in certain films. I think actually Chinatown has a very disturbing quality to it as well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call those horror films though.
No, yeah, but they have...
Maybe they have like drama, noir, surrealist qualities, especially Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet, being a thriller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a thriller.
But it's definitely got some... One of my favorite films. It's got some really dark and
oh yeah, I know.
creepy content.
And of course
to
we
it,
gotta
yeah.
throw out Rosemary's Baby in there too. We're talking about Polanski and stuff.
Yeah.
I never seen actually his film Repulsion. I really
Yeah,
wanna check
I was
that out.
talking about Repulsion
Have you
last
seen
week.
it?
Yeah. I'm not a Polanski fan. I like Rosemary's Baby, but I'm not a big fan of Repulsion. Not a bad film, but kind of a lukewarm
But-
film.
worth checking out.
Yeah, it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Especially most people like Polanski more than me.
Okay.
So,
Well,
definitely.
Connor?
Can I just do a quick pitch for William Friedkin for like 2 seconds?
Go for it.
Because William
Go
Friedkin,
ahead.
I think, is one of the best American directors.
Wow.
And, you know, people say French Connection and The Exorcist, but other than that, his filmography is largely unexplored by the general public. And when I think there's a lot of films he's done that are significantly better than those two. I mean, The Exorcist is a great film, but check out Rampage, a film he did in the late 80s about a court case of a guy who was a murderer. Really interesting film. The Brink's Job is a really good one. Sorcerer, like he said. One of my favorites is one of his more recent films, Bug, with a great performance by Michael Shannon.
Oh, weird.
And
I know the film critic Mark Como talks a lot about.
but my favorite one.
Which one is it?
My favorite one
Cruising.
is Cruising.
Yeah.
Cruising is my favorite William Friedkin film, and that film is a punch in the gut. That is a great movie, start with a great performance by Al Pacino. It's creepy, it's seedy and strange and hypnotic, about a detective going undercover in the gay S&M type community,
Ooh,
trying
wow.
to find a
What's it called
killer.
again? Cruising?
Cruising. Very good film. My
Weird.
favorite Friedkin. Excellent
see that.
movie. Everyone should check it out. It's a mouthful, but oh damn it.
Probably shouldn't have said that. Oh, God.
It's a lot to take. It's just
It's like getting fucked up the ass.
no. Why'd
Well,
you do that?
I just wanted to be worse than you.
It was a
so
co-
you didn't
it-
have to feel so bad.
That's so nice of you.
I know.
It was a controversial movie, though. They had to stop production about 1 billion times because they had mobs of gay rights activists
Wow,
picketing them. But it really isn't
that bad.
exploitative to that community.
Is there a
but it-
scene of him jerking off like Gaspar did
No,
with
but there's one
Irreversible?
scene. There's one scene. I don't want to spoil it. It's not like a plot point, but there's one scene where he's, dressed up in his outfit and he's dancing with this guy, and it looks like he's starting to enjoy it.
Oh wow.
And it's strange, and it's just a strange and hypnotic and weird kind of movie.
Scene.
Oh shit! You know what we didn't mention? Night of the Hunter too. I mean,
as a horror film, you think?
It's weird. I don't know.
I don't know if I call it a horror film.
I don't know if I would classify
but
it as a horror film, but it's weird. I see on I've
That's
seen on the
just a
internet.
really good.
People have
freaky
been
film.
Yeah.
equating it to people saying Halloween. Check out Night of the Hunter. But even if it's people, I don't know if I would consider exactly a straight horror film.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't, but it's got a spooky vibe.
there's
to it.
there are
Thriller,
some,
it's a creepy,
and there's some
yeah.
real kind of surreal
Spooky.
elements to it.
Oh yeah.
But people that haven't seen it definitely check out
that shot
Night
in
of
the
Hunter.
water
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
is
Bunch of good stuff there.
pristine.
So, I'll just talk about my favorite horror film, The Shining.
Who made that?
I'm gonna go. Was it Spielberg?
You're talking about the made-for-TV version, right?
Right.
Stephen King's preferred
Based on the
version.
board game, based on the book. Anyways.
Yes.
No.
Jumanji, right?
Jumanji.
Starring Robin Williams.
Robin Williams with an
Wait, so
axe.
not-
Robin
Red State.
Williams goes to a hotel
Right.
with his son, and they play
Oh,
a
don't
board
be afraid.
game. He gets sucked into the board game and goes insane.
Right.
He has to chop down a tree with an axe,
Indeed.
and
The tree turns out to be his wife.
yep, and he has to escape.
He's like, oh, it's because I'm in Jumanji.
And then there's spiders and a rhinoceros, and he sings a song with a bear.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The Shining.
The Jumanji book.
Jumanji.
Well, wait,
Shining.
based on
so
the
you're
book.
not gonna vouch for Red State?
What the fuck?
Kevin-
Red State. I
That's a
love Red State.
horrible movie.
Kevin.
No!
Smith's-
That movie's a piece of
No!
shit.
No!
That movie is so fucking bad.
I love Red State.
Why?
I love Red
Can
State.
of worms have
the
been
last, The last scene of Red State is one of the funniest things I've ever
It's
seen.
the most dumb expository, lazy screenwriting scenes.
No.
Well, I'm just gonna explain the whole plot right at the end.
No,
here.
no. I'm not talking about that. I don't mind that, but I'm talking about the last scene when he's in the cell. And the last line
Oh, that's actually really funny.
is so funny
Shut-
and sums up the whole movie. The whole movie is a build up to that last scene.
What's this? I don't remember.
I don't want to spoil it for people.
Fucking spoil it. I don't care. It's a
You want me
shitty
to
movie.
spoil it?
Spoil it for all the people so they don't have to go goddamn see it.
The Michael Parks character, the preacher, is in his cell in his orange jumpsuit, pacing around the cell, singing this
Right.
this hymn really loud, the Lord, whatever about the Lord, and then you just hear from the cell next door, "Shut the fuck up!" Cut to black.
That is pretty
And
funny.
it just sums up the whole Winthrop Street Baptist Church, whole crazy fundamentalist
Is that
Christian.
is that
Yeah.
Kevin Smith yelling that? It
I
sounds
think
like
it is. It sounds like Silent Bob.
what happened with that movie for me was I watched the Kevin Smith one where he talked about that largely.
Burn in Hell.
I think that's
Kevin
the one.
Smith, Burn in
Yeah.
Hell.
I watched that and like, wow,
It's a
this
good-
film's
It's a good cue.
it's a vision, it's blah blah blah. And then I watched that film like, this is a piece of shit. I hated that movie.
Wow.
I thought it was low budget. Wow, that should not be my first criticism. I thought it was.
It's low budget, Connor.
The
The budget was low,
So much going on in it.
therefore of no value.
Oh.
If they can't spend money on their movie, I can't spend money to watch it.
How many Goongas are in Red State? 0? Get the fuck out of here.
If Lars von Trier can't light his movies, then I can't be bothered to watch them.
It's not in black and white. That's my no. My main thing was the script. I thought was one of the worst Kevin Smith scripts I've ever heard.
And he's had some clunkers.
Yeah, he's just a really shitty movie. I mean,
I don't know if he's
isn't
had clunkers. He's had some uneven scripts.
Kevin Smith is. I
You know
think
what?
his scripts are low budget, just like his things. They're honest and they're weird and they're kind of like they're most of the time the things that people say in those movies aren't things people would actually say, but they're really
but
good.
most movies
This
aren't
movie was
what people
so.
actually say.
It was so. I could not stand it. The fucking teacher in the beginning goes, "See, even the Nazis think these guys are knucking futs." That's all I have to say about that movie. Is that line? Is the fact that a teacher said "knucking futs."
I love how he can put
Fuck
stuff
that
in there,
movie.
and then people still complain that it wasn't a Kevin Smith movie. They're like, "Oh, it was so straight laced." I'm like, "No, it wasn't.
It was totally a Kevin Smith movie.
It was totally a Kevin Smith movie. I love that it was Kevin Smith doing like a thriller."
right, but I don't think
It
you
was
should
so
fucking
much
do
fun.
that. I think it was awful. I think it
I
was
loved it.
really, really. I mean, I think it's entertaining. It was an entertaining film, but I was just like rolling my eyes and being like, "Oh, this is so cringeworthy."
I love how the punchlines of that movie are people getting shot in the head. He uses those as punchlines, and you're like, "Oh, that's
Oh, yeah.
crazy."
Yeah, I
And,
just think
and when,
I think
when you expect someone to not get shot in the head, the next thing that happens is they get shot in the head.
right.
It's-
I just think the
That movie was knucking futs.
I think he because I watched his whole Burn in Hell and he's like, I want to make an adult movie like Tarantino that's realistic and shit. And there's FBI and police in that movie, and the dialogue they have sounds like a 14-year-old writing for those types of characters. Be like, well, we are the FBI, blah blah blah. Oh, don't you know general knowledge about the FBI? FBI does that, and it's so stupid sounding. And he just built it up to sound like it was some great personal creation. And then I watched it and I was like, he totally missed the mark.
I'd say he's still trying to sell the movie, even probably still at this point.
Yeah.
For him to pitch it, because he can't pitch it as another wacky comedy from Kevin Smith.
Well, have
What
you-
will Jay and Silent Bob get into this time? Because
Yeah.
he just can't. So he has to pitch it in some way, and he has to find a way to pitch it that people
Well,
are going to
see
want to
how-
see it. So he's trying to get an audience, which
I just felt
Tarantino's
used
hot.
and
Tarantino's
exploited.
hot.
Well, we'll
So
see
I would
how,
say maybe the marketing was a little
Put your fingers over each
misleading.
other.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say like we'll see how his film Tusk turns out, which is have you guys
He's
heard
still
about that?
making films?
What? What
He
is
needs to get out of the
Tusk?
game.
You guys heard about Tusk?
The
Well,
last thing he said he was going to do was Clerks 3, which I was like, I doubt he's going to do that.
he was
but-
gonna do well. He's
Smoking
doing.
too much weed.
He's working.
And that was even after Hit Somebody.
He's working on Clerks 3. Hit somebody somewhere in like another world. But Tusk was a film he came up with where you can look it up on the internet.
Oh, the Walrus movie.
the Walrus movie.
I forgot
the
about
fuck?
that. I forgot
He's
about
making a movie
I'd love to
about
see that movie.
this millionaire old man scientist guy who puts out an ad in a magazine for a volunteer to come to his house, and he will pay them a buttload of money to I think it was like for 2 hours every day or
Yeah.
something like
Dress up like his deceased pet walrus.
no, not that. He wants to perfect. He wants to make the perfect walrus costume. He wants to make the most accurate, realistic walrus costume you'll ever see in your life. So he wants to hire someone to come to his house. He'll pay money for them to dress up like a walrus and act like a walrus while he throws like fish at them and stuff. And it was based on an actual
An
true
actual
story
thing, yeah.
that, according to Kevin Smith, was based on a true story. I never heard of it beforehand, but he's turned that into making it into a horror film, and
Weird.
he's calling it Tusk. and that's
Well,
gonna be
I'll still
that's gonna
see
be.
it. I'll even if Kevin Smith keeps smacking me in the face, I'll ask him for another one because I
He
don't
could
care.
shit in a cup and I'd take a peek.
Yeah,
mean,
I would at least I would
I
at
love
least
the
sniff
guy.
it. You know.
It's, I'll take a whiff.
So cool. Red State. Good combo.
The
You
Shining.
can put that one in the books
I just
now.
said combo. Jesus. It's getting late.
GTG guys.
My favorite horror film is The Shining. When I first... So my dad has always talked about The Shining because he thinks it's the creepiest movie he's ever seen.
It's
Scariest
on your
movie
board,
he's
yeah.
ever seen.
Scares me.
And my sister, I remember, she was just like, that movie's not scary. It's not scary at all. It's fucking stupid. And I was like, oh, okay, well. Because my sister's, she watched a lot of horror films. You know, just being a teenage girl, you watch a lot of horror films. Or like Caitlin, my older sister. And so I was like, okay, whatever. So, and then I realized it's from Stanley Kubrick, so I'm like, oh shit, I gotta watch this. That was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
it was the first film that ever scared me on a level beyond just,
Oh.
like, yeah, boo.
Yeah.
It was the first film I ever saw that really displayed tension in a horror sense. That film is a really personal film for me because I honestly, it's almost like it was made out of my own nightmares because I had nightmares as a kid of these old, like, scary looking ladies staring at me. I had many nightmares as a kid where I was walking through the halls of my house. I had many nightmares as a kid of just people staring at you from far away was like my childhood nightmares. And that film tapped into it so well, and I can still watch it to this day, and it just feels like a cold bucket of water being splashed on my back. It's just so creepy. And it's just so masterfully done. And it's like up there with Apocalypse Now with one of those films where I think the director's kind of insane, and you see it through the film. Like, they went insane making that movie, you know? Like, Apocalypse Now, it's all about insanity and craziness, and the amount of detail in that film is crazy.
Fucking
Same with
Yeah.
The Shining.
Great cinematography by the great Bernardo Bertolucci.
There you go.
No, not by the great Bernardo Bertolucci. By the great Vittorio Storaro. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, Bernardo. I'm
Apologies,
so sorry,
Bernardo.
Vittorio.
And this is The
Bernardo
Shining?
Bertolucci is Vittorio Storaro's, the director he collaborated with for many years. Vittorio Storaro is the cinematographer of Apocalypse Now.
Okay. Who's the DP of Shining?
The DP of Shining?
Like the cinematographer,
Ooh.
director of photography.
I
Or is
don't
it
know.
Stanley Kubrick?
I don't know
Probably is.
who the DP is.
But, yeah, I don't know. Just that film, it's horrifying. It's incredibly entertaining. It's tense. It's one of my favorites. It's just a really genuinely good film.
John Alcott is the cinematographer of The Shining.
Wow, right off the top of your head. Crazy.
Yeah. Also,
Oh, it's coming to me.
Clockwork Orange and Barry Lyndon.
Thank you, Trent.
And 2001: A Space Odyssey. So frequent
very much.
Stanley Kubrick collaborator.
There you go. John Alcott.
A great unsung hero.
Write that down, ladies
Not
and
even
gentlemen.
I knew his name. So
Do you want to throw out a quick review for our Room 237?
Oh, Room 237. I know you like that film,
careful
Jared.
because it could devolve into an hour-long conversation.
Okay, all I'm going to say about that film is it's really poorly made. It has zero structure to it. I think it's a disservice to a really, really good film. And I think it's a bait and switch. It's promising that this is going to be a hardcore analysis of a film based on the trailer. And you get in there and it's the funniest, dumbest, fake conspiracy mockumentary.
So is it worth seeing?
I couldn't stand it.
All I'm gonna
Even
say-
from like a
So
joke
So it's not good
perspective.
as a joke.
No,
No,
all
it's-
I'm going to say is I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. I thought the filmmakers very subtly poked fun of the people they were interviewing. And I enjoyed it. It wasn't a great documentary. It was, as a documentary on The Shining, like left a lot to be desired. But I don't
Right.
think that was really the point. I
It's
think
just
it
such-
used The Shining as a vessel to show how nutty film conspiracy people
Right,
can
and you
be.
don't need a film like The Shining. You can use other films. Like The Shining is so... There's so much you can actually dig into The Shining that I just felt hurt that they would like...
Well, I don't think there's
Promise
people who
something.
have conspiracy theories about...
Chairman of the board with Carrot
yeah,
Top, but
exactly.
yeah,
yeah, nobody has conspiracy theories about Little Man.
sure, but I'm just saying The Shining is one that you could
Man.
legitimately break down in a film very easily, and there has been. I mean, that's one thing that intrigues me is knowing, because there's not a lot on Stanley Kubrick and like how he made his films. Like, I think there is, but like, it's hard to find footage of behind the scenes of him working on things.
Well, there is that behind the scenes documentary that Vivian Kubrick made his daughter on the making of The Shining.
Yes,
Right.
there is that. And
But
there's
that's
also
from footage that she found in like a fucking tin.
Yeah, but
in
there's
their
also
attic.
a life in pictures.
No, she shot that. And she shot that herself. That was.
But it didn't get released for many, many years.
No, but
I don't. Was it?
I don't know
But
when
it's
it
just like she was
released,
a
but
kid and
that's
just like filming her
I think
dad
that was
doing
one
her
of the
job.
few ones that were released. There
Whether-
were other.
when it
ones
was
that
released
weren't.
is
The one that I think you're thinking of.
No,
the
I
one
know.
that
I'm
was
just
a Full
saying,
Metal
like,
Jacket.
I don't think she intended to make a documentary out of it when she was shooting it.
yeah,
No,
but
It
she's
was
it's
just
still,
like home videos, kind of.
it's still footage.
Oh no, it's still footage.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But there's
it was
also-
hard to do it because like,
Which interviews like there's interviews.
I mean,
with Scatman
there's
Crothers
hours
and,
of
Danny Lloyd.
footage on The Godfather and Jaws and all these classic movies, but like Kubrick films just, I mean, I've looked. It's hard to find. Things
Well, I mean, there's
behind
a
the
life
scenes.
in pictures,
Sure.
which is like a 2.5 hour documentary on more the history
Right.
of Stanley
And it's
Kubrick, and there's
like-
also
yeah.
Stanley Kubrick's boxes. So there's stuff out there, but
It's
maybe
hard.
not to your
No,
standards.
maybe not.
I think for a
I
lot
don't know.
of film students, Stanley Kubrick was one of the first filmmakers they really got into. And,
Yeah.
like, they were just really attached
He was
to.
like the gateway for me. Too.
Yeah.
He is a gay
Yeah,
guy,
him and Tarantino are probably the two that like most got me riled up. Him, Tarantino, and Coen Brothers. I used to
Yes,
actually
yeah.
say Quentin, Kubrick, Coen, and I would say that because they was like
Three
the alliterations.
favorites.
Yeah. I'd be like, that's the three favorites. That's when I was like,
Represent.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, just classic film. And that's really all I have to say about that, Forrest Gump style. Thank you guys for joining me.
If you have questions,
If you have questions, you can email filmfetishpodcast@gmail.com. We will be taking questions for next week's episode. Please feel free to Facebook us. There's a Facebook page. You can like it. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. And just keep a lookout for updates. And we hope to see you guys next time. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
bye bye.
Goodbye.